So they sent out a bridge buzz last week before they sent out a bridge smart brief. And so I tweeted this out. I don't think I read it on stream. Hopefully I did not, so this isn't rehashing content. But the bridge buzz for February. And the other one's so beautiful. Welcome to Bridge Buzz, our monthly newsletter where we share the latest news, updates, resources, and more with you, our extended Bridge community. This month, we're focused on the administration's executive orders around DEI and how we are going to meet the moment. A note from Cheryl Dijja, founder and CEO. Dear everyone, that's a little presumptive. As outlined in Project 2025, the new administration has issued an executive order called Ending Radical and Wasteful Government DEI Programs and Preferencing. The EO requires the termination of all discriminatory programs, including illegal DEI and Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Accessibility (DEIA) mandates, policies, programs, preferences, and all activities in the federal government, under whatever name they appear. I love that Donald Trump put that. I love that he put under whatever name, because we know that's all they do. They never stop the actual work. They just change the name. This and the other actions taken last week to turn back 60 years of federal DEI practices implemented after the Civil Rights Act of 1965 to ensure equality and counter generations of racial bias. It also makes me happy that she has managed to say how it's been going on for 60 years. I have prattled about how long this has been going on. And it's probably even more than 60 years, but 60 might be where her knowledge cuts off, you know? Fucking called it. While jarring to watch unfold, it is imperative to note that the executive order is in no way meaning that companies should cease practices intended to diversify their workforce and promote inclusion, belonging, or equity. DEI initiatives remain legal as long as they comply with anti-discrimination laws, a requirement that is always applied. And once again, with like SHRM and with some of the colleges I talked about over in Maine, they're opening up scholarship programs saying, oh, it's an LGBTQ scholarship, but you don't have to be LGBTQ to apply. You're probably not going to get accepted, but that is the whole point. As long as they say that you're allowed to apply for it, it doesn't matter if you have the perception that they're not going to accept you. It just matters what's legal. You know, like that lady said about the birth certificates in Texas. It doesn't matter if you get your birth certificate from out of state, because that would make it legal in Texas. Hiya, Manya. Despite having had a roller coaster of emotions, I've never felt more courageous, determined, audacious, fired up, and ready to meet the moment. While the administration's indefensible attacks might feel like a setback, we witnessed true leadership from companies doubling down on their efforts with a real understanding that inclusion is good for business. As Chuck Robbins, CEO of Cisco, so aptly put it, they would have us believe that this is a single-issue discussion, and you either believe it or you don't. And in reality, it's made up of 150 different things. And people in the comments mentioned that Cisco actually has a lot of government contracts. So hopefully this means that despite being a private company, since they do get government funding and they do get government contracts, Doge might actually be able to do something about DEI in Cisco. The reality is that DEI is not a box to check. It is a strategic, multi-dimensional framework that drives innovation, strengthens workplace culture, and enhances marketplace competitiveness. DEI practitioners and those who understand the transformational power of DEI recognize that it is an interconnected system of policies, practices, and behaviors that, when fully embedded, create sustained impact across every facet of an organization. Companies that lead with this understanding are future-proofing their businesses. It's because they're trying to create the modern audience, the new generation that will know nothing better. Kabunya. Real ID loophole has been a thing for years. You can get a passport by pure self-ID as whatever gender you want. And then by Real ID compliance, all other documentation can be forced to match that, even at the state level. Icky. During this moment, it is important to remind your business leaders that 1, your primary responsibility is to your employees and shareholders. Many in your organizations are genuinely scared about these new orders being issued, some with their identities threatened to be entirely erased. This is exactly where your DEI leaders can provide you and your team support. Number 2, reacting to the politics of the moment is not a long-term business strategy. Don't get caught up in the hype, pause, assess, and be pragmatic. This is a complicated time. Number 3, dig into your own business and figure out how DEI can support your growth markets. Once you understand the opportunity, then work to mitigate risk, not the other way around. And this is like kind of how Amazon started changing their terminology early. It was still after Bridge announced their initiative, but it was way before anyone started talking about it, even myself in the news. And this is, you want to be able to sort of have a kind of foresight for how the public will perceive things, for what the conservative activists will do. And you want to mitigate that risk, not wait until there is a backlash or people start noticing what you're doing. You want to make sure you're mitigating that beforehand so that you have much more leeway. Every practice evolves despite the collision course with politics. Since Bridge launched, we have been working with companies to evolve DEI from a philosophy to embedding inclusion as a practice for business growth. Collaborate with your DEI and marketing teams to evolve your DEI practice with well-thought-out adjustments aligned to your business growth strategy. Number 5, you are here to serve your consumers, communities, and talent, not politicians. As Corey Marchisotto, CMO of Elf Beauty, said, "We are the community we serve." And if you guys will remember, I had multiple streams on Elf Beauty, one back in the day where we went down how they were helping in the Bridge Initiative. I'm pretty sure they have a person on the board. And there is the Too Many Dicks initiative as well that they did that I talked about recently, where they were saying that there are more men named Richard in general than there are women and minorities on boards of directors at companies, and that needs to change. So Elf is very heavy in the Kool-Aid of the DEI stuff. The leaders of Bridge, together with you all, will pave the way forward as our industry continues to do the work and support those who are most affected by all that is unfolding. We thank each of you for being a part of our amazing community. We are simply stronger together. Yet another rebranding project. No, Bridge is not a rebranding. Bridge will always be Bridge. The rebrandings have nothing to do with Bridge's name. That is the company. So Bridge has IMAX, and now they're going to have Forward underneath them. IMAX is their 72-axis split, where they also talk about price equity and equity of availability of products. That spooky, scary thing. While Trump blames DEI, businesses are pushing back. Even as President Donald Trump blamed a diversity push within the Federal Aviation Administration for a deadly mid-air collision between a passenger jet and a military helicopter last week, businesses are pushing back, touting the benefits of DEI to their talent pool and bottom line. There's just so much data that says diverse teams perform better than homogenous teams. But diverse thought really drives better outcome, says Tarang Amin, the CEO of Elf Beauty. Despite such support from executives, many DEI professionals say that they're fearful for their jobs, even as they remain committed to the work. And this article is, Trump is attacking DEI. Big businesses believe DEI is valuable. President Donald Trump on Thursday blamed the Federal Aviation Administration's diversity push, in part for the plane collision that killed 67 people in Washington, D.C. But DEI backers, including most top U.S. companies, believe a push for diversity has been good for their businesses. Trump did not cite any evidence for how efforts to hire more minorities, people with disabilities, or other groups less represented in American workforces led to the crash, saying it just could have been, and that he had common sense. But Trump criticized the FAA's effort to recruit people with disabilities during Joe Biden's administration, even though the FAA Aviation Safety Workforce Plan for the 2020 to 2029 period, issued under Trump's first administration, promoted and supported the hiring of people with disabilities and targeted disabilities. It's not the first time opponents of diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, or DEI, have said that they can kill people. DEI means people die, said Elon Musk after the California wildfires, criticizing the Los Angeles Fire Department and city and state officials for their efforts to advance diversity in their workforces. And he's completely correct. When you have a firefighter who's a woman who is erroneously hired and asked, like, if she'll be able to save your husband from a burning building, and she's like, oh, well, your husband shouldn't have gotten himself in that situation in the first place. Like, that's fucked up.
Is she strong enough?
Their situation that they're in a burning building and need help? Like, what?
To do this, or you couldn't carry my husband out of a fire, which my response is, he got himself in the wrong place if I have to carry him out of a fire.
How does someone like this get a job as a firefighter? That's actually fucked up. And there was so much evidence that these people at both the state and the local level in California during the fires and before the fires put diversity ahead of any kind of actual safety protocols. It's not conspiracy theory. It was shit that we read with our own fucking eyes. The Trump administration has clamped down on DEI in the federal government, ordering government DEI employees to be placed on leave, ending the use of DEI in hiring in federal contracting, and other measures to end DEI practices. In the business world, DEI is typically a mix of recruiting practices, employee training, and other measures to boost representation of people of different races, genders, classes, religions, and other backgrounds. So they're not getting hired on their merits. It's simply to boost their immutable characteristics so company looks good. Why would you write this? Why would you type this so plainly in text? Don't believe your lying eyes. Listen to your betters. They'll tell you which truth to believe. True. Rather than lower hiring standards, supporters say DEI broadens the pool of people employers would consider for a job. In theory, finding even more qualified people for tasks than they would have found in the past. Companies that abandon efforts to promote diversity and inclusion risk missing out on the best talent, business leaders say. You risk missing out on the best talents. Like, if we stop giving H-1Bs to everyone, we're gonna miss out on the next Einstein or Tesla, am I right? Am I fucking right? Quantify that risk for me. At its best, DEI is about developing talent, measuring it in a fair way, and finding hidden talent and disadvantaged talent in a world where not everybody has an equal chance to exhibit their abilities. Ken Frazier, the first black chief executive of a major pharmaceutical company, told CNN in October in an interview. Yeah, but like, what were his qualifications? Because like, if he's qualified for that position, he wouldn't be a DEI hire. Get those Indians before China does. China's arms racing us for the Indian population. DEI initiatives have been shown to boost profits, reduce employee attrition, and increase employee motivation, according to the Boston Consulting Group research based on data from more than 27,000 companies in 16 countries. What is this research? Diversity, equity, and inclusion serve as a bedrock value for many organizations. They drive value creation when embedded as a part of a core business strategy. Our diversity, equity, and inclusion consulting team helps clients build the equitable and inclusive business of the future. Wow. So a diversity, equity, and inclusion consulting team did some research and came to the conclusion that diversity, equity, and inclusion actually increase business costs in a good way, not like you lose money, like you make more money. I worded that badly. Wow, I'm so shocked that they made a study that benefits themselves. How crazy. Organizations often focus their diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts on the employee experience alone. However, these values can also drive long-term sustainable advantage by improving the customer journey, product development, innovation agenda, and supply chain. BCG's proven approach to DEI in business can help organizations build inclusive business models to enhance their talent profile, community impact, and business performance. Their consulting services are supplier diversity, gender equality, inclusive product design. We help companies actively integrate equitable thinking into product design and create inclusive products that appeal to customers and communities that have often been overlooked. Inclusive product design can help companies reach new communities and audiences and respond to changing demographics. but I thought nothing was changing. Our product inclusion consulting team helps clients identify gaps in product development and incorporate equity throughout their value chains. To make products more inclusive, clients must first understand what inclusive products are. Goods, services, or ideas that are designed, marketed, and distributed in a way that achieves fairness and equal outcomes for customers regardless of race, sex, gender identity, and abilities. Inclusive products can be profitable, scalable, and advantageous. Successful companies embed product inclusion metrics and design thinking into all stages of product development. Our approach to inclusive product design. BCG's equitable product design experts help clients enable product transformation and deliver heightened performance throughout all 4 stages of the product development lifecycle. You have assess, define, develop, enable. Companies should consider design, architecture, and ecosystem principles at each stage to develop an inclusive and equitable product, while asking these relevant questions. During the assess stage, design, are we being inclusive of all audiences in our user research? Architecture, do specific target populations face technology barriers? Ecosystem, what motivations and implications should we consider? What do they mean by technology barriers, right? Because if you're trying to market like a cell phone, you obviously wouldn't consider the populations in a place that don't have cell phone towers, right? Because that wouldn't be the target demographic you're trying to sell to. Like, that wouldn't even make sense, right? They don't even know the word computer. Are they gonna be inclusive to the Luddites? Not a very good cycle. What the fuck is this? In step 2, define, under design, are we ensuring cross-discipline collaboration to capture divergent perspectives? That is a word salad sentence. Architecture, have we validated how algorithms will impact all customers? And ecosystem, do we have a holistic stakeholder map? Red flag stakeholder, red flag holistic. What the fuck is a holistic stakeholder map? I don't like those words together in succession. Under step 3, enable, have we captured diverse user feedback and iterated appropriately? Architecture, have we tested our product's infrastructure connectivity? Ecosystem, have we examined our supply chain to ensure equity throughout? Why would you need to ensure equity in your supply chain? You do not ensure the outcome, you ensure the opportunity. What does this mean? Develop, the final stage, design, is our data inclusive of all customers using the product? Architecture, are our data and algorithms free of bias? And ecosystem, have we considered DEI when selecting partners? It's interesting when they ask if the data and algorithms are free of bias, because one thing that we read from Amazon was that Amazon was using AI to not only eliminate bias in data, but also to try and counter unconscious bias in the people who are doing the work. When they say avoid bias, they actually mean ensure our bias is in effect. Oh, that is absolutely what they mean. That's absolutely what they mean. In other words, design is just one aspect of equitable product design. Our approach is data-driven, ensuring equity at every stage. It's also built around ongoing user engagement, and it is all-encompassing, ensuring that all parties in the surrounding ecosystem are following principles of equity and inclusion. This is the Bridge Initiative. DEI will be all-encompassing. There will be no DEI department. There will be no DEI directors. It will just be everyone's job. Everyone. And the surrounding ecosystem probably also includes, just like Bridge says, not just the company, not just the employees, but also the consumers and the customers, and them when they go out to their families to have discussions at dinner table time. And I'm really happy that there's actually something here talking about inclusive product design, because Bridge has been talking about product design equity, and they don't explain exactly what that would mean. So we're left to sort of brainstorm on our own what that would look like. So it's nice to read something like this where we actually know the kind of crazy shit they're talking about. Our client work in inclusive product design. They have 4 million customers. BCG has worked with a North American bank to help strengthen its financial wellness initiatives, which lacked a cohesive strategy and focus. As part of its retail and commercial banking transformation, the bank needed help defining a clear strategy that would ensure priority initiatives were linked to business outcomes. I don't know if I like how priority initiatives were linked to business outcomes in an article about how you're supposed to be doing this with equity in mind. BCG collaborated with the bank to define its quote-unquote North Star ambition and develop a high-level roadmap to increase financial wellness for up to 4 million customers. I remember asking this at the very beginning of all of my bridge nonsense, like at the very beginning of last year, because I had never heard a company define something as their North Star. And as I got deeper in looking through bridge stuff, the only companies that used the North Star terminology were ones that were completely coddled in DEI. But I have had a couple of people in chat say that like they are in businesses and their businesses also use the North Star terminology. And that makes me wonder, is the North Star another regular business terminology that is being co-opted by these people? Or are the companies that you work for, unfortunately, also covered in DEI? Hi, Kirsche, what are we talking about? Fuck, your CEO uses that term. Well, it could be, because we've talked about several other, and I think Vouch brought one up that I keep forgetting. They've co-opted several regular business terms. Change management, thank you. Change management is one that's used in like tech and whatnot. And that's one that the bridge people have started co-opting and using for their like DEI practitioners. And in a lot of articles, we've seen the use of the change management for the use of DEI. And since it's already something that's used for something normal, non-DEI related in the industry, it's a very easy term to co-opt and get normies to believe that it's on the up and up. It's not DEI. North Star is used in antiquities navigation, and some religious scholars have even equated it to the Messiah. Oh no, I know that, right? Which is why I was like, it doesn't surprise me that these fucking religious ideologues are using it. But if it's a normal, like, just businesses use the North Star as a normal business term, then this is just another co-opting of it, or it could just be their own language. I'm not sure, because I've never heard it before. North Star is being used correctly, not subverted as far as you can see. Well, I mean, everything in this article is about diversity, equity, and inclusion. So North Star being used here would not be being used in a normal business sense. North Star is meant to reduce indicators to a single number everyone aligns to. They sure use doing the work a lot, they do. Our insights on inclusive product design. Oh god, I hope they have a video somewhere, dude. Expanding accessibility with brain-computer interfaces. Brain-computer interfaces allow people to control computers with thought alone. Michael Major of Precision Neuroscience and B Capital's Howard Morgan discuss scaling these technologies. Oh god, I would not trust these people with that kind of tech, dude. The importance of being equitable in product design. Equitable products built on the concept of human-centered design increase value by providing a better customer experience and solidifying brand trust. Meet our product inclusion consulting team. Our product inclusion consulting team leads clients through a structured 4-step process of assessing, enabling, defining, and developing inclusive products. We also have a product equity checklist that can help define critical questions, ensuring that our clients' ecosystems of partners are following inclusive product development principles. Here are some of our experts. We got Kendra, we got Melissa Dudek, Chicago, Seattle. Supplier diversity, racial equity, diversity, equity, and inclusion, regular. They don't have any videos. That's so sad. Can we go to their YouTube? They have videos on YouTube? Beyond is where we begin. 3 hours ago. And if I just search for equity. But a year's worth of data tells us about private equity and ESG. Private equity sounds like the financial thing, not like the thing I'm looking for. Diversity and inclusion at work, BCG's core values fundamental to our success. This was 4 years ago. I'm sorry, 9 years ago. I'm illiterate. No comments. 7,000 views. Aw, Ziz. We're probably gonna get fucking hit for corporate slop music.
Our desire as a firm to change the world starts with our belief that we can connect with the world.
And in order to do that,
I like how the first guy coming out says, like, yeah, we want to change the world. It's about the cultural control, chat, as we've always known.
we need teams that will challenge each other, bring different perspectives, and diversity is just an essential element of that.
The power of individuals.
It's been important to me just to join a community, join a firm that values the diversity.
This is Danny Acosta, a partner and managing director, head of the Hispanic and Latino Network. Would this man have a job if it was not DEI related?
And has created mentorship relationships and other things along the way that frankly have been very important to me in my career trajectory.
Diversity is just the numbers, and inclusion is making the numbers count. In order to get diversity and make it work, you need the inclusion.
So how do we make sure the firm...
This is Michelle Russell, the head of NAMR Women's Initiative and Network.
is culturally as supportive of people from all backgrounds as possible.
I started a global call, which is a
This is Brian Gross, lead of the LGBT Network for Business Services team.
video call for the LGBT network. We used our first time together to have people around the world share how they came out. It has opened up a level of dialogue that just didn't.
What does that have to do with business? What does that have to do with your actual job? What the fuck? I don't want to have to come to work and be like, so Kirsche, tell us about how you came to have your first child or something like that. It's like, I don't want to tell you about that, man. That's my personal life. This is work time, man.
Exist prior to starting the network.
Every year we get together for the North America.
This is Danielle Hinton, a principal member of the Ethnic Diversity Network.
Ethnic Diversity Retreat. So I really feel like it's a family coming together, and you just leave feeling so inspired. And
it's a huge fucking red flag if you go to a company and they describe themselves as a family. You are going to be treated like shit.
honestly go back to the office or to my case, just wanting to just do better and to be better.
And so for veteran, I know for myself,
this one's the head of the Veterans Network.
It was challenging to speak up and to contradict a senior partner or push on a client. And if I didn't have good mentors and if I didn't have people who recognized that in me, I couldn't have been successful.
Can I just ask, what part of being a veteran would make it harder for you to stand up and speak to a senior person like he said there? How did he word it? How did he word it at the beginning? I can't remember.
And so for veteran, I know for myself, that was challenging to speak up and to contradict a senior partner.
So how was it challenging? How was it more challenging for a veteran to speak up and contradict a senior partner than just like anyone else who works at the company? Lack of a gun. It doesn't unless you have no balls. What? Used to following orders without question. Wouldn't that be a crazy fucking stereotype? Like, oh, that's just Dan. He never speaks up in any meetings because he's used to being beaten by his sergeant. So, like, just don't mind him. He's gonna be quiet the whole time, aren't you, Dan? This guy's an Air Force vet, confirmed. Yeah, if you hook up with someone at one of these family companies, is that incest?
Or push on a client. And if I didn't have good mentors and if I didn't have people who recognized that in me, I couldn't have been successful.
A place for true
We need
collaboration.
to have open environments where we challenge each other, we bring different points of view to the very, very complex and very human problems that our clients have.
In a particular
Yeah, they're very human problems, which is why I say it that way.
instance,
Oh, wait, this is Jean Bickford, the head of the Asian Network. Sorry, I forgot to read her job title.
Complex and very human problems that our clients have.
in a particular instance, the CEO of a bank was a woman. We had a number of conversations that I think probably would not have occurred but for the fact that we were both women, that brought us together in a way that helped me be able to have some really tough conversations with her.
And when we bring a diverse team with different backgrounds and
This is Michael Sharman, the head of the Black and African American Network. So they have a Black and African American network, but that lady was just the head of like the diverse network. Okay.
experiences. We can actually leverage and use that to bring insight to the table. But if you only have a group of people that are very similar in mind,
he's black. All right, we're getting into the light skin privilege insults. Only other black people in chat can insult him for that. Charmin Ultra, make this make sense.
set and backgrounds, you will only get a subset of the ideas.
BCG is a place that, values the individual. And I think we believe that this combination of individuals leads to sort of the greater answer.
Homogeneous backgrounds lead to fast but more narrow solutions. Diversity brings us the things that make our solutions unique.
Turning ideas into impact, chat.
The more perspectives that are represented in that team, the better insights we can produce for clients.
The desire to keep doing better, to keep pushing forward.
This is the head of HR.
To who we are.
We've added huge amounts of value to our clients.
Head of the disability network.
And by extension to the societies in which they work in and the customers that they serve.
And I think without the background we had and the diversity we had in the team, we would not have been able to come up with the right answer or create the right chemistry and collaboration with the client.
Our clients demand that we bring to them.
Why is the diversity and inclusion lead a fucking white male? Is it because he has a woman's first name? Fucking Mel Wolfgang? Head of the Namar People Team, diversity and inclusion lead? Oh my god. Male feminist? I want to see this guy's closet. Not because I think he's gay, but because I think he has some skeletons in it.
Them the best sets of ideas that connect with their customers and their business models and the needs that they're seeing in their markets. And we don't bring our best unless we bring diverse thinking.
And I think one of the biggest things that we have to do that other...
This is a senior advisor who is the co-founder of the Black African American Network. Is it just me, or is his head too big for his body? Let me disappear for a second. Look at... He looks like that. Wasn't that guy in the Addams Family with like the really, really tiny head and like the big, big body? Or is that a different spooky thing? Do you guys know who I'm talking about? Do you know what guy I'm talking about? Like mini head guy? Yeah, was it Lurch? Okay. Thank you, chat. I couldn't remember the name. I'm staring at this guy's body and I'm just confused.
Companies fail to do is accept that the partnership and the partners within it have to affect it.
Why Ted Cruz
Our
is
ability
jealous.
to actually shape, mold.
Oh, see, look, this is 9 years ago. 9 years ago, and this guy's title is Global People Team Chair instead of like being a DEI or an inclusion officer. Literally Global People Team Chair.
And thrive on the diversity is core both to our success, but also because we actually have the opportunity to set the example, we can really make a difference. And we can show other companies how to do it, and we can show the world how to do it.
We are BCG.
And if you were wondering what the fuck does this company do after watching this, may I remind you, we started reading that article 40 minutes ago or some shit. This entire consulting group only consults on DEI. That is their job. They are a DEI consulting group. Not a cult, trust us. This is a BCG diversity, equity, and inclusion video 1 year ago. This is their video from last year.
Our clients partner with BCG to solve some of the world's most complex and complicated problems. And to do that with quality really requires a diversity of experiences, a diversity of perspectives, and we need to...
This is Alicia Pittman, the North American Consulting People Team Chair and Managing Director and Senior Partner.
Bring diverse case teams to our clients in order to bring them solutions that are high impact and lasting.
BCG's purpose is to unlock the potential of those who advance the world. We try to live...
Unlock the purpose of those who advance the world. And they're doing that through diversity, equity, and inclusion. What an interesting thing to say.
this purpose by focusing on 5 purpose principles, which are interwoven into every aspect of diversity, equity, and inclusion at the firm.
Oh, I wanted to read those principles, but she talked too fast. The purpose principles are lead with integrity, conquer complexity, grow by growing others, drive inspired impact, can't see it, my hat's in the way, and bring insight.
Into every aspect of diversity, equity, and inclusion at the firm.
Everything we do starts with integrity. And for me, leading with integrity starts with listening. That requires us to constantly reevaluate everything we do.
Here at Tegrity Farms, we have integrity.
And when it's time to speak up, we have to be candid with each other. We have to confront difficult issues. We have to acknowledge blind spots, and we work together to address gaps in our approach.
I think part of the conquering of complexity means establishing a clear picture of where we are and where we want to go together. It also means
Isn't Pancham a Pokemon?
accountability.
There's no way we could do the work that we do without people. And people are the foundation that makes BCG incredible. If we don't have great people and we don't put them into roles that they deserve, we won't be able to have the impact in the world that we want.
We have to be focused on impact in the DEI space. It's easy to focus a lot on the activity in DEI, but you have to measure and track your impact and whether the work you're doing is making a difference.
I think all change
They're so
starts with
creepy, man.
communication. And the goal is that if we can amplify more of what's...
This is the Center for Inclusion and Equity Director who's speaking. I asked about Pancham earlier because that guy's last name was Pancham. So I was like, hold on, wait a minute.
Taking place, both internally and externally, the larger impact we'll have in society.
I truly believe that a diverse workforce is a stronger workforce and that you will have more capability to adapt and evolve your own business with that diversity.
I think today we've done a good job, but I want us to be great. And I think there's so much work to be done to do that. It's not just that we're meeting the bar and the expectations, but we're actually setting the bar.
So what would you say you do? This is what they do, chat. They are a consulting firm, so their job is to get paid for promoting and changing DEI within companies. That is their job. It's all DEI. They bring out the crackhead network guy, or did you miss it? The what? The LGBT in Business 2023 Facets of Diversity. Real talk, real action, establishing the Center for Inclusion and Equity. This was 5 months ago. Real talk, real action. Why does the CIE exist?
I think establishing a center was really important to us. Having a center of gravity, having a community of practice, having a group of people that are really committed and passionate about inclusion and equity, but from all different parts of BCG, all different industries, all different functions, kind of coming together to talk about these issues and find commonality across the work that we do, that we could learn from each other and bring back to our clients and to, our partners is really important. And, when we think about some of the learnings we have, there's a lot of consistency in some of the problems we're trying to solve. If you talk about access in healthcare is not dissimilar from access in retail, is not dissimilar from access in banking. They're all very similar gaps that we're trying to close, just in different systems. But under everything, it's all the same groundwater that we're all trying to have an effect on.
I bet it is all the same that you're trying to have an effect on. The North America Center for Diversity and Inclusion. That was a video. The fuck is she even talking about? She said nothing at all. These are like sales pitch videos, man. Diversity is just the first step. Inclusion comes next. When was this? This is a 5 years ago video?
Women at BCG. Diversity is just the first step. Inclusion
Diverse
come
employees
next.
oftentimes face a sense of isolation or lack of a sense of belonging within their corporate environments. Many corporations are doing a great job to recruit and hire diverse individuals.
Loud, they don't know
but
what
there needs to be more
audio
done
mixing
to
is, chat.
give them a sense of inclusion in their corporate environment.
Why?
We surveyed over 4,000 respondents about diversity and inclusion in their workspace. Not surprisingly, The majority population responded to 78% of them said that they felt they could bring their authentic selves to work. 74% said they felt like their perspectives mattered.
That's a pretty high number.
For diversity respondents, the results were much different. For people with one dimension of diversity, so a white female or a black male, they were 4 to 6 percentage points less likely to feel included in their environment. The more dimensions of diversity.
I feel included at work when people don't bother me and I can get my work done. Sounds like a personal problem.
Diversity a candidate has, the less likely they are to feel included in their corporate environment. So a lesbian woman of color is about 15% less likely to feel included than her majority white male counterpart.
Sharon, I don't care about your fight with your girlfriend as long as you guys aren't pulling off each other's weaves in the parking lot. Please just get to work on time.
Without changing the culture of inclusion, many companies are going to miss out on the ability to attract and retain senior diverse talent. Without that senior diverse talent in place, it creates a vicious cycle where the culture of uninclusion will continue on, and the company won't benefit from all the value that having a diverse workforce brings.
To me, that just says, like, you need to do things that coddle people who are unable to be in social situations naturally, because otherwise you'll have a completely correctly functioning workforce, and we can't have that. We can't have your workforce actually be functioning, all right?
Companies can do 5 things. First, commit at the top. So the CEO and the executive leadership need to commit to not only diversity, but also inclusion as a key value within their company. Second, they can enlist frontline leaders. Managers have the biggest daily impact on employees' lives day to day and can help set and change the culture within an organization. Third, they can identify and amplify best practices. So within a certain office or region, if there's winning strategies that they're taking to inclusion, share those across the rest of the business. 4, don't tolerate bad behavior. Publicize your values. Take all complaints very seriously. Set the right tone through day-to-day actions. Finally,
no, the bad behavior you don't tolerate is someone constantly complaining instead of getting their work done. Someone not being able to actually do their job is the bad behavior you shouldn't tolerate. I was just like, when I worked at the insurance company, and I moved to a different area because they were cross-training me on doing property adjustments. And I shared a desk with a woman. So there was a woman on the day shift. And so she would leave. And then when my shift began, I would use that desk. And then when I would leave, I would lock up the building. I would arm the building. And then in the morning, she would be the one to come back in at the desk. And when I go to work, I have very long hair. And I don't want to be fucking fighting with my hair all day. So when I go to work in an office, I typically put my hair up in a high, neat bun. And so this lady, I guess, emailed my boss at one point and was like, there's a hair all over the desk. And so my boss emailed me and was like, would you mind possibly wearing your hair up in a tight ponytail hairstyle because you're leaving a lot of stray hairs around the desk and your desk mate has been complaining about it a couple of times. And I was like, hello. We have at least 50 cameras in this room alone. You can check any video feed of any security camera to know that my hair has been in a tight bun, not just since I changed desks, but since I started working here. So I don't know how hair is being left on the desk, but it is absolutely not mine. And my boss was like, oh, well, that is kind of strange. Thank you for having your hair up to avoid the issue. And I thought that was over. And then another time, I got an email saying that I should buy my own footstool if I want to use a footstool instead of using my desk mates. And not only did I reiterate about the 50 security cameras in the room that I was in, but I sent her a picture of the 2 stools. Like I used my like little, I'm a manager, I need my phone in here for a moment pass. And I brought my phone and took a picture of the stools, showed it to her, and I was like, I have a stool of my own. Her stool is on the opposite side of the desk, and I don't even touch it. I don't know why she thinks I would be touching it, but I'm not touching her stool. And so, like, this went back and forth for a while of, like, my boss continuing to message me about, like, stray hair on the desk or crumbs on the desk from eating. And I'm like, you can, again, look at the security feed. I don't eat in the clean rooms because it's a hassle. I will go out and I will eat lunch and then I will come back in after. There's no way I'm getting crumbs on the desk when I'm not eating. Like, the stool thing was mentioned a couple of more times. Like, this woman was absolutely fucking insufferable. And it's like, why is she allowed to do that? Why is she allowed to just, like, bitch and complain and bother me, someone who is doing an incredible amount of work at the company that I had been promoted multiple times in a short period of time? Like, why are you still even fucking bothering to email me about this? Was this a chicken lady? No, this was some, like, white old lady. Psychic vampire. So, like, when I finally quit, my job, and, like, I gave my 2 weeks notice, my last day at the job, I made sure that there were strands of my hair all over that fucking desk. I put them in the keyboard. I pulled out my hair and I, like, wound it around the telephone, dude. I put my hair everywhere on that desk. I was like, fuck you, fuck your stool, fuck your bitch ass attitude, fuck my boss for continuing to, like, do this shit for you. I was so pissed, man. Based me marking her territory. Was this the woman who complained about my promotion? The woman who complained about my promotion was a black woman who complained I only got promoted because I was white. The woman being a bitch at the morning shift at my desk was a white woman. I should have peed for good measure. She was like Flanders with his mustache, only with her hair. Oh god, fuck the boss and level up. The boss was a lady. So first of all, no, but also her husband also worked there. So, like, double no, you know? A woman-hating woman classic. The woman who complained about the promotion was nothing like her. She's black. Women tend to have the crab mentality. Sorry you had to go through that. I fucking hate the office woman mentality. I'm like, when I was newer to streaming, I was like, finally, I won't have to deal with that terrible office woman mentality. How fucking naive I was. Holy shit. Holy fuck, man. Like, my first interaction with, like, another woman in the, like, streaming sphere, when I was, like, partnered with NMAS Entertainment, was on their, like, Terra player council. They had one woman. Everyone else was a dude. And so when they brought me on as a content creator, this woman did, like, this weird flex thing of, like, if you do something I don't like, I can get you cut from the program kind of thing. Where in Terra, people would use skills to, like, go through walls and get around doors and shit all the time. Like, it was just accepted practice because you weren't doing anything to be able to go through the doors. The game was just coded like fucking spaghetti. So it's like you didn't use a code, you didn't use a cheat, you just used a normal skill in the game, and sometimes that would push you through doors. The game was just coded fucking terribly. And so this was like an accepted behavior for like years. Like, nobody complained about it. Corsair's stronghold, you had priests pulling people through doors. You had lancers pulling enemies through doors. It was just normal, accepted behavior in the game. Because it wasn't anything you needed hacks for. It was just part of the game. And so I used one of my priest skills to go through a door, and this woman told the group of people that we were in for the partner program, obviously the NMAS employees were there, and they were just like, hey, we need you to not be doing that because that's showing people how to exploit the game. And it's like, okay, first of all, if you're going to have a problem with me using this skill to go through this specific door, what about, and then I listed like 20 other instances of where this is a thing. And they were like, yes, those are all considered exploits. You should not be doing any of those. And then the entire PvP community had a stroke because she tried being like, I just wanted Kirsche to not be exploiting, but then she had to bring other stuff into it that didn't make any sense, and it's not my fault that she mentioned PvP and that you guys can't pull people through doors anymore because that's an exploit. And it got like so crazy that like they had to issue an announcement like, oh, we're not actually going to be punishing people for exploiting. You can still keep playing the game like you have been for all of these years. It's just you know, we were trying to deal with something else. And I was like, yeah, you were trying to deal with me, you fucking cunts. Trying to fucking throw your weight around like you mean anything? God damn. Shouldn't be playing the game how the players do, fucking idiot. Yeah, it was a horrible fucking time. I was so fucking grateful when Gameforge wanted to partner with me. I was like, yes, I will take the 150 fucking ping in this action combat game to not play on en masse fucking servers. Never put two women together in a male-oriented space, or one will try to fight the other for attention. Thanks, I hate it. And Kirsche is clearly a high-level woman that other women cannot outcompete. I was like, I just do nothing, and I win. I'm like Lord Gaben. Oh, woman bitches, Kirsche. Okay, you want to complain about an issue? Let's fucking fix all the issues. Yeah, right? Classic female abusing female. It was fucking amazing. And I learned that, like, even as late as last year, like, I hadn't been partnered with NMAS since, like, fucking early 2019, probably. Like, it was a long time ago. But, like, some of these people, they have a server that they hang out in, and I know a couple of people I'm friends with who are also in that server, and they're like, yeah, all of your emotes are banned in that server. Like, they don't allow talking about you. They don't allow your emotes. Like, they are seething even years later. It's so fucking funny. Fox woman exists. It's a tragedy. You remember there was an exploit in one of the endgame dungeons back when the level cap was 60 that could skip through like half the dungeon? Those were the days. Kirsche verboten. I know. It's fucking amazing. You thought NMAS finally died out a few years ago? They did. I was talking about many, many, many years ago, in the before times. You're hated by NMAS? Well, their employees are fucking DEI communist weirdos, so yeah. I think like the most surprising thing that I found out while I was like partnered with them was how much they hated Gameforge. Like the fact that the NMAS employees would seethe over Gameforge like doing nice things for their player base because it made NMAS look bad. But it's like instead of doing anything, right? Instead of doing anything like Gameforge did for the community, they would just seethe and shit talk the Gameforge employees. And so it's just like, well, you could be a decent person. Why are you bitching? NMAS sounds familiar. Yeah, stupid Gameforge. You made me look bad. It was like the animosity was just insane. There were a couple of good people at NMAS, and hopefully they found other jobs and have been able to do stuff that they like doing. But a lot of the people at NMAS were fucking garbage, unfortunately. What do you mean we have to do good for the gamers? They were just really hateful people. And then after NMAS, one of the community managers that was always bitching about how, you know, that people don't believe she's a gamer because she's a girl, wham, misogynies. She got hired by the Halo people, so like that was their problem at that point. I don't want solutions. I want to be angry. Yeah, there was oh god, I'm trying to remember what patch it was. There was like some patch that happened, and like we were getting like less tokens for something. Again, this was so many years ago, so my brain is fuzzy on the details. So like, I'm not gonna be 100% accurate here. But like Gameforge had like done something to give the players extra for this patch than what Bluehole had given us naturally, and NMAS didn't want to give the players on NA the same kind of like extra stuff that Gameforge had given. So the NMAS employees were like, why does Gameforge have to like white knight for these people? And I'm like, I was losing my mind, like doing nice things for your players when they're worried about the state of a patch because even the Koreans are bitching about it, and you're gonna call them white knight? That's just doing their job. Like, advocating for your customers is white knighting. Imagine. NMAS sounds like a gaggle of cunts. The majority of them were. There were a few good employees, and especially like way back in like the 2012, 2013, 2014 days. We had like Tonka, we had Minea, we had Tree Shark, we had good community managers way back in the day, but by the time like 2018 had rolled around, it was bad, man. DEI types are allergic to doing their jobs. True. Speaking of allergic to doing their jobs, let's finish this video. It's got like 10 seconds left.
The fifth is to measure and track. So make sure that you're measuring and tracking your results around diversity and taking appropriate action where necessary to ensure success.
Yeah, track the diversity. Why would you not advocate for the people making you your money because you hate them? When someone who hates gamers decides to be a community manager for gamers, shit's usually not going to go very well. And Mass was pretty good back in 2014 to 2016. It went downhill after that. Funny how you stopped playing right around that time. I wasn't around for, I think his name was Space Cats. There was Space Cats, and then there was like a really angry old married lady who was a community manager for a while. I was taking a break from Terra during that time, so I wasn't around for those two, so I can't speak to their quality. But basically, after Space Cats, there was never a good community manager after that. Regardless of how you feel about Space Cats, I don't know whether he was good or bad, but I've heard that he was like the last decent one. Sadly, quite a lot of these people are in the gaming industry. It really sucks. It really sucks. Knowing you're one of the better employees just doing your job you were hired for, even when you hate the job. I felt bad for like the people at En Masse who were like, yeah, I want to do stuff for the community. I want to make things better. I want to increase communication. Like, I felt bad for them, and they would drop like fucking flies. Because it was like, they just like wouldn't be able to get anything done, and that would feel frustrating to me as well. All you know is the video Pippa played, Red Circle bad. Red Circle is bad. Keep forgetting these people have transmogrphed themselves into a hate-filled homunculus. See if there's any other... Let's see if there's any other, like, more recent ones. Can I, like, sort this by date? No, I can't. Unlucky. That would have been cool if I could. See if there's, like, another just, like, short one here. Unlocking potential in diversity, equity, and inclusion. They're fundamental to our firm, a crucial lever. They're both 3 years ago. There's 2 videos on unlocking potential, both from 3 years ago. Women in Tech and Digital, it's a playlist. Why inclusion generates business value. This is about their that's half an hour, dude. Discusses the significance of diversity and inclusion for organizations 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 11 months ago. Leading through transformation with inclusive communication. What the fuck does that even mean? This was 11 months ago?
Hi, I'm Andra London. I'm a managing director with BCG Brighthouse, based in our Atlanta office.
Wait, this is the firm that one guy on Twitter is about that wants everyone to take the subway and public transportation. Wait, what do you mean? Wait, what do you mean? Do you have a tweet? I don't know what you're talking about. Senpaku eyes.
You and your teams will inevitably experience an emotional journey, and that journey will vary from person to person. And it is influenced by multi-way communication, meaning, how are we having a conversation about what's happening in the organization and why it matters for you, why it matters for the business, and ultimately for the world.
The whole world. You got to change the world's culture. Globalism in action.
As a leader, your role is to facilitate the conversations with and amongst your team and their peers and leadership to help them engage with the transformation in ways that are productive and healthy. We talk about that as ensuring people feel in the change journey because it requires people to talk about them engage with the transformation in ways that are
hold on.
Role is
hold on. I think I just fucking zoned out. I need to hear that part over again. I'm so fucking lost.
As a leader, your role is to facilitate the conversations with and amongst your team and their peers and leadership to help them engage with the transformation in ways that are productive and healthy.
What's the transformation? Transformation of what? I thought this was about inclusive communication. What are we transforming?
We talk about that as ensuring people feel in the change journey.
What is a change journey, and why do people need to feel like they're inside of it? What is transforming?
Because it requires people to be informed, influenced, included, inspired, and invested.
That's a lot of I words.
In traditional transformation communications, we tend to see leaders focus only on the first two ins. There's this expectation that people will get on board when communications are as transparent as possible and relay information about what's happening. But informing and influencing are insufficient to drive the kind of openness to change, the belief in the aspiration that the future represents.
What the fuck is she talking about? What does this have to do with a business? Like, lady, I just want to sell coffee. What do you mean? What the fuck is happening? This sounds like an introduction to like a cult. This is a video that would come up as I'm watching A&E's Cults and Extreme Beliefs.
Spicy cat raid.
What the hell is going on?
Spicy cat raid.
Zaxton Revolution. Thank you for the raid. Welcome, Raiders. Welcome, Raiders. Shop.phase-connect.com/ She's trying to Jim Jones you. I just what is she saying?
But informing and influencing are insufficient to drive the kind of openness to change.
Because she was saying like giving open communications and being transparent isn't good enough, because you need to give them more ins to believe in the aspiration that the future represents. What does that mean?
Belief in the aspiration that the future represents and participation in the effort. You have to go further in order to really move people to change.
This is just like, you have to use this special language in order to have people feel like they're informed, but really, you're propagandizing them. You're pumping them full of our thoughts and our language, and they will go out and they will propagate that like birds with seeds in a field. And then our ideology will spread far and wide without these people even knowing that they are being used to spread it, because they are hopeful for the future. You have aspirated them in more ways than one.
Your teams need to understand who's in this with them. Why should they care about it? And what can they personally do to contribute to it? Included means using communication not just for top-down updates, but to build a sense of community, creating spaces where people can relate to peers on their team and across teams.
Look, man, I just want to do my job. I don't want a sense of community with my company. This is more that like 15-minute city shit, where it's just like one company is going to own everything. They're going to be your landlord. They're going to be your grocery store owner. They're going to own the movie theater. They're going to own the parks. They're going to own everything you do. But it's okay because everything's convenient and you can walk around the little 15-minute city place. You know, it's okay. Don't bother. Don't look into her medallion. What is this? Like discount fucking Flava Flav? What is this?
And offer perspectives back to leadership. Openness to change requires people to be optimistic about the future and what it represents. So Inspired is about articulating that vision and why it matters.
The way she's saying it makes it more unsettling. She's using the exact voice that I do when I make fun of these people. And that, to me, is unsettling.
Rally people. Invested is about helping your team understand what actions they can personally take to be more effective in the course of the transformation, which, as an example, could be introducing some new ways of working. Every in doesn't need to be reflected in every communication. The important idea is to avoid stopping at informed and influenced. Core to your effectiveness as a leader and to the morale and productivity of your team is how well you do the latter points, so they're in it to win it.
They're in it and they're doing the work. That was a creepy video. I didn't like that one. I wish there were comments on here, man. I wish there were comments. I would love to read those. 3 hours ago, Advancing Financial Inclusion. We're excited to introduce our upcoming podcast, Advancing Financial Inclusion, The Next Frontier, featuring Deep Modi, founder of Spice Money, and BCG's Yashraj Arande, India leader. Hold on, I can't keep reading this description. Where's the name? Yashraj Arande, India leader, financial institutions practice, and global leader fintech practice. With a mission to democratize digital finance services, Dilip Modi has been instrumental in transforming financial accessibility in India. Under his leadership, Spice Money has empowered 1.4 million adhikaris, local banking entrepreneurs, to bring essential banking and financial services to rural communities, bringing the urban-rural divide. In this episode, Dilip and Yashraj explore the digital transformation reshaping financial services, the challenge of last-mile digital financial inclusion, and the opportunities that lie ahead in India's inclusion journey. Welcome to the official YouTube channel for the Boston Consulting Group. Okay, I don't need to read that part. I was like, I can understand like needing help for fucking financial infrastructure in India. That one kind of makes sense. Funny how there's a lot of Indians in these DEI things. Don't look at who's getting the H-1Bs. Employees talk about equity and inclusion at work 10 years ago, 6 years ago. Treat diversity and inclusion like any other business priority from 6 years ago, man. A real talk, real action. The power of vulnerable conversations. 5 months ago.
Real talk is being vulnerable. It's being able to say, I don't get this right all the time. I don't understand this. I might potentially disagree.
So just being normal?
And it's being vulnerable to share those perspectives that people might not expect from you.
What does that mean?
And know that the person who's receiving it is receiving it with the intention of, I want to connect with you in some way.
Is she saying like, oh, if I disagree with someone and he's a white man, he's going to look at me and be like, wow, I didn't think that a brown lady could disagree with something I said. Because like that wouldn't happen because he'd lose his job. So like, I don't know what she means.
And maybe even help create some kind of clarity or awareness or understanding. But real talk to me is, that's how you connect on the most raw and authentic level. And for DEI, I think real talk is needed because we are talking about issues that are hard. Without the real talk, we don't make real progress.
This was 1 minute and 10 seconds that said absolutely nothing. Said absolutely nothing. We already read. Oh, I thought we did. Why DEI is important in today's business landscape. I thought we watched this, but I don't recognize that Moana character.
Diversity is, in my opinion, incredibly important. It's necessary for businesses to thrive and be successful, in particular our business, because we are a very human-centered business.
Well, you're a consulting agency that pushes DEI. So,
but it takes a lot of really hard work, and it takes a lot of time and dedication from people who really care about the issue. And without people both within the actual affected community and folks who are allies to that community or outside that community, without like hard work across those groups, you're not going to be able to be successful and like have a strong, diverse community in your company, in your organization. And that's just really amazing to see and be part of. And it's that hard work that actually like enables us to grow diversity and improve it.
What? They are committed to the work. She ran out of things to say, so they extended the outro. This is America's sterile and depressing future. Yeah, absolutely. Vaishali Rastogi on digital inclusion. During the pandemic, the world went online, but not everyone had access. How do we bridge the digital divide? I mean, if they're not in my country, that's not my problem, to be fair. Building a bigger and more inclusive consumer goods forum. What does that mean? What does that mean?
Thank you for making time for this conversation. In your sense, given what you've seen here and what you're seeing in the industry, is the appetite for climate action accelerating, holding, or maybe taking a step back as you look across the industry?
You know, I think it is accelerating, but for the reasons we renamed
This guy is part of a different company. He is the group chief executive of DFI Retail Group. I do not know who DFI Retail Group is.
coalition towards net zero, we want to make it more inclusive, because the reality is we are at CGF a global entity, a platform of global retailers, global CPG who are at different stages of development.
Spicy cat
they may
raid.
not
What the
yet
hell
be
is
ready
this spicy
to make
cat
that commitment
raid?
to net zero. So we're focused upon the toward net zero. As a result of that change, I've had a number of retailers who held back, a number of CPG who held back and came forward and said, all right, we're happy to go on a journey together with you, as opposed to some of them were hesitating to be involved just purely
What the fuck?
because they weren't ready to go out publicly yet with some of those commitments without being clear what the math is. So I think the interest...
Why would they be hesitant to go public with some of those commitments? Might it be because some of those commitments happen to be running afoul of legalities?
...is there. How do we change the intent to do the right thing into action? And then how do we, through CGF, create platforms to be able to help with the auditing and reporting to make it affordable so that ultimately all of our customers will be given the choice for more sustainable product without having to pay a premium.
No, that's really helpful.
But how do you know it'll be a more sustainable product?
And I think the collective action team, I think, is fundamental to these types of forums. As you think about the journey for the Net Zero Coalition, what is the most exciting part for you in terms of where we are and what's lying ahead?
I don't understand what this has to do with creating a more inclusive consumer goods forum.
Aligning on innovation, I think the scope 1, scope 2, the energy world, maybe parts of transportation have gotten a lot of attention and a lot of focus, but we're a food retailer. We need innovation in rice. We need innovation in chickens and innovation.
Please do not 3D print my steak. I do not want to eat the 3D printed steak or the cricket flour bread. Please stop.
Around beef. And we're starting to, I think, create a voice that says, yes, on all of the aspects related to energy, the transportation, logistics, etc. We have to start dealing with some of these.
They want to fuck with the food supply. If you live in America, I want you to look at the FDA recalls. I brought up a whole bunch of them on stream, I think like last month or maybe the end of December, but they just keep fucking coming. Like literally, I feel like everything is getting recalled. Like every day there's a new fucking recall for listeria or salmonella or some kind of like contaminants that got into the food before they went out. Like literally and it's not just human food. There's like pet food that's being recalled too. It's like an insane amount of recalls the past few months. And then we had all of those like fucking chicken murders because of some bird flu thing. And that's, again, why we have issues with the chicken and the egg supply at the moment.
Commodities, and I think that's why CGF and the intersection, many of the commodities we sell in our stores are the raw materials for many of the CPG companies. And so how we can come together and find innovation, to me, is pretty exciting.
Is there anything about how you're framing the innovation agenda as a coalition that's maybe further providing fuel for that collaboration and that out-of-the-box thinking to occur?
It's interesting is we're really early in the days. I think, a lot of companies have been out there grappling with this issue. And so just, the last 6 months of this coalition coming together and some of the conversations tell me how little work has actually been done. And so I think everyone was looking for some forum, some mechanism, some platform to be able to come together.
I almost accidentally closed out of my OBS while I was trying to pause the video. Whoopsie. I was trying to say that's exactly what Bridge was saying as well. If I go back a little bit here.
Tell me how little work has actually been done.
There is very little actual work that has been done in Bridge and a lot of these other acolytes' opinions. They were saying that a lot of these companies did things performatively because they were promised higher profits. Once enough of the acolytes got in, they were able to spread the DEI to other employees and realize that they could transform it in other ways in the industry, and then also convince their managers and the people higher up that it's not just a marketing tactic, it's something that needs to be embedded in the rest of the company. You can't just silo it off as a marketing tactic and have it in your advertisements or have it as like a basic, like, oh, we're gonna change things about these characters in a game or in a show. You have to have it be part of absolutely everything you do and your everyday like operations as a company. So I can see why these people are also echoing the just not enough work has been done. We're not doing it. They're not dedicated.
And so I think everyone was looking for some forum, some mechanism, some platform to be able to come together on these particular topics. So I think in general, there's a lot of really great intent. I think we're still really early in the process before we're bending the curve.
No, thanks, Scott. Appreciate your perspectives.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott, for numbing my brain. All right, I think we've watched enough of their videos. We can probably go back to the to the article in a second here. I just want to make sure I've read everything on their basic website. They also have, we were looking at the inclusive product design because I wanted to learn more about that. But obviously they also have racial equity. They have people strategy for when they start phasing out DEI specific languages so people don't notice what they're doing. Related services. They have social impact capability, culture and change management. There's that phrase again. Climate change and sustainability. Our approach to equitable and inclusive business transformation. BCG helps organizations rethink and broaden their DEI strategy from a do-good requirement to a lever for creating lasting competitive advantage, business opportunity, and societal change. Unlocking value and impact through DEI, define ambition, strategy, and roadmap, holistic, discerning DEI strategies grounded in company context, purpose, and business environment, and anchored in specific goals and actionable roadmaps. Secondly, develop a DEI positive business strategy, embedding DEI in what businesses do through enhanced customer personalization, business model innovation, or building new businesses. Enable the transformation, ensuring impactful leadership and collaboration on DEI while maximizing recognition for impact creation throughout the organization, ecosystem, and even in the market. Adopt a DEI positive people strategy, transforming how companies advance DEI outcomes and incorporate DEI as a key element of their human capital strategies and actions. So it's like once again, I'm very happy about the executive orders, very happy things are getting, dealt with in the federal sector. Things are still very clusterfucky in the private sector. We still have a lot of this stuff to root out and get rid of. And Kirsche gonna learn the secret DEI handshake. I gotta learn it, man. Our client work in equitable and inclusive businesses. Building a strategy to support people with disabilities. We partnered with a Middle Eastern government. What did they mean by this? Why did they say support people with disabilities and then immediately go into Middle Easterners? We partnered with a Middle Eastern government to develop a holistic strategy for supporting its residents with disabilities. Grounded in global best practices, the strategy will help improve outcomes in health, education, employment, social care, access, and public life. Accelerating supplier diversity. We helped a global technology company accelerate its supplier diversity program, which is set to increase diversity spending by a factor of 5. You know what's really interesting? Every single time they talk about a company they've worked with, they never name the company. There's not a single company name in any of this slop that I have read. They just vaguely mention a company. So maybe the company exists, maybe it doesn't. It's very possible that they could just be saying that they've done these things. And if the company exists, why are they not being named? Right, like even Sweet Baby proudly displayed every single company they worked with on their website. So why are these companies not being named? Interesting that they would be wanting to not proudly display which companies they have pushed this stuff in. Designing for product equity, we helped a healthcare provider design a virtual-first model of care that engaged under-invested patients and assessed digital equity on an annual basis. They also never specify what they actually did. Yeah, they just use their buzzword salad to explain what they did with DEI in the companies, because that's what this company is doing. They're a consultancy company. So they're not selling products, they're selling their DEI consultancy ability for these companies. So it's either some of these companies might not exist, or they're not naming these companies because it's a way to protect the company from getting more pushback from the conservative activists who have been levying lawsuits. It's a way to obfuscate exactly which companies are receiving these societal benefits that will transform culture. Equity in healthcare sounds like a really poorly thought out idea. It is. And I have a couple videos on equity in healthcare from when we were talking about... Oh god, there's a medical group that was involved in something, and I can't remember their name off the top of my head anymore. But they had a memorable name. Other possibility, the company collapsed? Not these many. Not these many companies. Creating a more diverse and inclusive workforce, we helped a Middle Eastern oil and gas company analyze recruiting data to uncover DEI gaps in the talent pipeline. Through the analysis, the company was able to shape new DEI policies and programs for building a more diverse workforce. I think it's interesting that they've now mentioned 2 Middle Eastern companies. What Middle Eastern companies are going to be accepting like Western DEI theology in their companies? Doctors Without Borders? No, it wasn't Doctors Without Borders. It was like, I want to say their name was Gideon. I think it was Gideon Company, maybe? That sounds familiar. It's Israel 100%. Leveraging data to drive diversity and inclusion innovation. We partnered with a Latin American telco company to analyze and leverage quantitative and qualitative data for innovation hackathons. Through these hackathons, the organization was able to design a diversity and inclusion intervention that truly elevated its DEI strategy. What the fuck does that mean? What does that mean? Enabling a socially transformative business. And this is once again a bridge language. We partnered with a global biopharmaceutical company to help make all its current and future patent-protected medicines and vaccines in the US and EU available on a not-for-profit basis to 45 lower-income countries. Leveraging BCG's expertise in portfolio development, regulatory pathways, supply chain platforms, and education for healthcare practitioners, the company launched an access program that will bring life-saving drugs and vaccines to 1.2 billion people. All right, so I got some questions. First of all, what do they mean by socially transformative business when it's about DEI? That's transforming the culture wholesale once again. Second of all, what do they mean? What do they mean by they're sending vaccines from the EU and the ES, they're available in the EU and US, on a not-for-profit basis to 45 lower-income countries? Who is paying for that? Who is paying for all of these vaccines and medications to be sent to 45 lower-income countries? Where is this money coming from? I don't want my tax dollars to be paying for this. Not my country, not my countrymen, not my problem. Check way back for possibly finding the names of companies. I doubt that they would have changed it recently, but I guess I could do like a quick search. Just like a quick looky just in case. So the page that I've been reading, this is the archived one from 2020. Diversity and inclusion. We have a deep expertise in supporting organizations, reflection in a time of pain and turmoil. A message from BCG CEO Rich Lesser on the murder of George Floyd, the disproportionate toll of COVID-19 on communities of color, and the steps we can take to move to a more just world. Saint Floyd of the fentanyl, in his name we pray, amen. They always have to mention him, man. Saint Floyd. Financial institutions can help break the cycle of racial inequality. Closing the wealth gap demands radical disruption in the way financial organizations and investors prioritize, target, and invest in Black consumers. Diversity is just the first step. Inclusion comes next. This is what they're still saying. We have those videos from this year. A new LGBT workforce has arrived. Inclusive cultures must follow. Fixing the flawed approach to diversity, how diverse leadership teams boost innovation. It's important to look at workplace diversity. Our goal is to increase diversity, unlocking the potential of every BCGer and client team member. To do so, we invest in people and in research that reveals which tools, programs, and cultural changes are necessary to deliver sustainable impact. Why address diversity now? Organizations that lack diversity will find themselves falling behind in the war for talent. Research shows that more diverse companies benefit from more engaged and ambitious staff, greater innovation, and a better bottom line. Despite these facts, only 5% of CEOs are women, and that number has not meaningfully moved in decades. And while approximately 98% of employees say their company has a gender diversity program in place, only about a quarter feel that they have personally benefited from a diversity intervention. Dude, I'd be terrified if my company was like, we need a diversity intervention. That sounds horrific. I also remember reading multiple other articles from Bridge Smart Briefs that had this exact language. There is growing governmental pressure on organizations to change this dynamic. In addition, with global media attention through movements such as Me Too, really? A Boston consultancy group put Me Too as part of a we need cultural change, like, serious thing in their website. Oh my God. Time's Up, I don't even know what Time's Up is. Worldwide women's marches and Black Lives Matter. Company leaders must address the issue in order to improve recruiting and maintain credibility. Demographics are shifting. I thought that was a far-right conspiracy theory. What do you mean? Younger generations have different expectations in terms of culture and working norms. And those companies that are progressive and forward-thinking will win the war for talent. Why do some diversity measures work while others fall short? Many companies strive for increased diversity through a trial and error approach. This is just like their old initiatives back in 2020. I don't think I need to read all of that. Diversity and inclusion, strategic value sprint, tracking and measuring, driving diversity through cultural change. We already know that that's what they want to do. Advancing diversity through new ways of working, communications and branding strategy for diversity and inclusion. BCG and Bright House, an independent business division of BCG. I think that video we were watching, they mentioned Bright House in the video. I remember them mentioning that. Our latest thinking on diversity and inclusion. Meet our experts. They have Matt Krentz, Justin Dean, Jay Lundy, and when we saw all these people in videos, I do believe some of their faces look familiar. I don't know if Jennifer's familiar or not. I think this is the Elliot Vaughn. I think he was the guy who did the veterans disability group thing. So they don't have any companies or like things that they've done listed here either. Let's check the 2022 website page. They removed by 2022. They removed their little blurb on George Floyd. Diversity and inclusion are not luxuries reserved for high-performing companies in flush times. They constitute a powerful lever for improving performance, and they're more critical than ever as companies aim to accelerate out of the downturn. BCG brings deep expertise in driving measurable change in diversity, equity, and inclusion. Our work enables clients to build teams that fully reflect the diversity of the world and the communities they serve, and empowers them to advance their businesses and our society. Again, they cannot shy away from mentioning how they want it to be a global cultural change. We recognize the significant value that diversity, equity, and inclusion can unlock for individuals, organizations, and societies, and the need to do better. To this end, we partner with companies to implement proven diversity strategies and diversity and inclusion practices. And they have their BCG's offerings here, so these are almost the same. Because I was gonna say, I don't think on the current page website they have the diversity and inclusion strategic value sprint. And I don't think they have the organizational culture, but they do have the rest of these 5. Rethink and broaden diversity, equity, and inclusion to create a competitive advantage. I wish I could watch this video, man. I wish Wayback Machine fucking archived videos. Oh, does it? Does it? Oh! Oh, usually I can't! Oh! I'm excited.
Over the past decade, we've seen increasing implementation of formal diversity, equity, and inclusion programs.
Why he look like a villain, though? Like, look at his face, man.
Yet our goals remain far away, as efforts are largely too narrow in focus.
True, that's what Bridge
Programs typically
says.
focus on the talent aspect, rather than the broader view of business and society. With the rise in social movements, COVID-19, and the Great Resignation, it is even more urgent now for businesses to act as agents of change. And the expectations for corporate advancement have become more expansive in scope to deliver across a company's talent, business, and society.
For talent, stronger outcomes are expected. Current challenges are rooted in focusing only on leadership talent and on broad demographic categories that fail to recognize individuals' intersectional, multidimensional needs.
For business, there's an increasing recognition that bringing a diversity, equity, and inclusion lens to business practices can unlock significant value via innovation, better fit products, stronger value chains, and addressing underserved communities' needs.
For society, there's a growing pressure on companies from all stakeholders, investors, community, consumers, to advocate for social good via advocacy, philanthropy, convening, and mobilization of partners.
Questions remain on how to deliver DE&I effectively across talent, business, and society. To make real progress, companies need to shift the mindset from DEI as do good, signaling to move and deliver of long-term sustainable advantage.
Literally parroting Cheryl Dijja. And this is from their 2022 version of the website. The bridge 1.0 thing that Cheryl Dijja had nothing to do with, the 1.0 bridge that a lot of people mistakenly bring up the website of, they existed in 2020 and 2021 and 2022. And they were a DEI monitoring company. The original bridge was to monitor DEI and figure out how to improve it if DEI goals were not being met as effectively. And I'm not entirely sure if Bridge 1.0 somehow morphed into Cheryl Dijja's bridge, or if they're freakishly similar but separate, because I found them at very much the same time. And they talk about a Bridge 2.0 initiative inside the Bridge 1.0 website. And when Cheryl Dijja's bridge was created, aligns with the time that they talk about the Bridge 2.0 initiative on the original Bridge website. It gets very confusing. And so since he's using the exact same language, he's saying the exact same thing that Cheryl Dijja did in her initial interview when she was talking about this stuff in 2023. I want to say it's either the beginning of 23 or the end of 22. I can't remember exactly when she did that interview with Sasha on DEI After 5, but that's the exact same language. Exact same language.
Leaders need to amplify the talent impact, expand beyond traditional DEI segments, and recognize the complexity of identities and changes in needs over time. Individuals do not neatly fit into discrete, broad, and static boxes of gender and race that are the foundation of many programs today. Instead, take an employee just entering the workforce. As she advances in her career and her personal life, she experiences planned and unplanned life changes, like starting a family or becoming a caretaker. Leaders should address these evolving needs, correlated with happiness and motivation, to create nuanced, end-to-end solutions for their employees.
Leaders also have an opportunity to unlock business value with diversity, equity, and inclusion. First, remove bias from operations. For instance, by reviewing your sales and marketing strategy for potential bias and customer targeting algorithms.
You know what potential bias I see? Why is it always a white woman and a black man in all of the commercials trying to sell us stuff? Where's the diversity in the relationships?
Second, innovate propositions to serve broader segments, like adapting products for physical disabilities or offering solutions and care in a wider range of languages. Third, spearhead DEI in your supply chain. Benchmark supplier diversity, set and de-average targets for your supplier base. Cultivate the next
spearhead, by the way.
Use society's ESG expectations to drive change both within your organization's walls and out to the broader community. You can do this by revisiting DEI KPIs, measure long-term inclusion indicators, and expand metrics across the full employee life cycle. Connect these KPIs to broader societal impact and establish transparency to ensure accountability. Make visible commitment to bold action. Ensure that all leaders are champions and allocate sufficient resources to these goals.
But now we have to make it less visible. This was a few years ago. They got to be more careful now.
Advance advocacy. Educate employees on social issues and provide resources to enable supporting the community, like donation matching. But more broadly, be a voice for social change publicly and inspire, invest, and work with peers to amplify your impact.
Good Lord, that video. Good Lord, that video. Why do they matter? My company has a diversity program in place, 96 to 98%. I have personally benefited from the diversity program only 21 to 28%. So we kind of read their little blurb on that earlier. This is their North American Center for Inclusion and Equity. How to achieve impact through diversity, equity, and inclusion. Meet their inclusion consulting team. Okay, here we go. Here's the client work. The client work has finally showed up. BCG partnered with a leading global industrial goods manufacturer to develop new programs and processes to help the company achieve its ambitious DEI goals. The work resulted in a clear 5-year plan on strategic DEI priorities. Commies do love their 5-year plans, man. An active top-down involvement in shaping and executing the new DEI strategy. So it looks like even back in 2022, they weren't naming companies. They were being vague about who they were helping. Again, here, BCG helped a Middle Eastern oil and gas company that's still on their website. BCG helped a North American oil and gas company assess employee performance evaluation data to develop dashboards that track DEI progress through the organization. These dashboards enabled the company to identify opportunities and address pain points to improve DEI initiatives moving forward. And it just seems, the Latin American Teleco company is also here back in 2022. This just seems really odd to me. Right, like, I'm more leaning towards these are probably real companies, but they're not giving out the names of the companies, so it's harder to track where their influence was going. And normally you would think, but why wouldn't they do that? Because the more companies they work with and the more companies they put on their profile, the more robust of a portfolio they look like they have, and other people will want to reach out to them in the first place. But if they're doing this kind of subversive work and they're trying to do it without being noticed, it makes a lot more sense to be incredibly vague about which companies they're working with and the extent of the damage they're doing with the DEI. So even as far back in 2022, they weren't being, even if in their videos they're saying, be open, be public about your support, they're not being open and public about what they're doing with which companies. It's harder to assess the business efficacy of what they're selling. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, there's another video. Why Otto Bach leads with social in ESG. An interview with CEO Philip Schult-Noel. I don't know what Otto Book is, and I don't know who that guy is. I don't know who that guy is. Diversity is just the first step. Inclusion comes next. BCG's commitment to it. They have a little commitment statement. Whoever told me to check the Wayback Machine, we got some knowledges. Thank you for suggesting it. You're inclined to believe there are no companies because the supply outweighs the demand for this. I mean, I agree with you. The supply definitely outweighs the demand, but look how many companies are publicly partnered with Bridge. It's not outlandish to think that even if they're doing it with like a medium-sized company instead of like a large like S&P 500 company, that they would be a company that exists. These people, again, like if you remember what Kim Belair said, if you remember some of the articles I've read on previous Smart Briefs, they go to the marketing people, they go to their managers, and they're just like, we have to do these things because if we don't, there will be massive social backlash and your company will be the target of it. Like they threaten and they strike fear into these companies. So it could be, right? Like I don't have any definitive proof that these companies exist, but I feel like based on what I've read, I think that they probably do, and that BCG is just being protective of those companies because it also protects them and the work that they're doing pushing DEI. Thanks, you hate that the 1.7 million tax dollars went to BCG. Literally, how? Oh no, they also received fucking USAID shit. Is that what you're saying? The article continues on CNN. This is the Trump on a plane crash DEI, by the way, as somehow. Amid growing opposition from right-wing activists, lawsuits from conservative legal groups, demand from conservative-leaning customers, and other factors, many high-profile companies have stepped back from some of their DEI pledges. Walmart, McDonald's, Target, Harley-Davidson, Ford, and many others have made changes to their DEI initiatives. Notice how this was many high-profile companies have stepped back from some of their DEI pledges, period. And then they list all of these companies that we know did not step back from any of their DEI pledges. And they also say many others have made changes. So they're acknowledging that these companies didn't do as they publicly said. They're acknowledging that these companies did not step back from DEI. They merely made changes. It feels so good to be right, to be told that I am right. People don't want this shit, but we're doing it anyways. People just don't know what's good for them, chat. We're doing this for the greater good. And sometimes you have to hide the DEI vegetables because the people are just fussy children who don't know it's good for them yet. However, most companies remain committed to DEI. The Heritage Foundation, a conservative think tank that opposes DEI, found in November that 486 of the Fortune 500 companies still have a statement or corporate commitment to DEI on their websites. Most of the changes companies like Walmart and Target have made are cosmetic and inconsequential, said Jeffrey Sonnenfeld, the president of the Yale Chief Executive Leadership Institute. Thank you, Jeffrey! I don't care if you have a foot fetish. You're fucking wonderful for noticing. I'm so glad other people are saying it. But according to Robbie Starbuck, we're winning. And he's racking up those wings. Keep making those memes for him about killing the companies because he just looks at them on LinkedIn. Companies are adjusting language or repositioning programs rather than abandoning their commitments to expand diversity. Most of the leaders I speak to absolutely see the value of diversity, said Tarang Amin, the CEO of Elf Beauty. How does this person get so many interviews? This is actually, I feel like I've read that name like 3 times in different areas today. A cosmetic company that has stood behind its DEI programs. There's so much data that says diverse teams perform better than homogenous teams, that diverse thought really drives better outcomes. Bigger companies are standing firmly behind DEI too. Costco recently rejected a proposal brought by a conservative think tank, the National Center for Public Policy Research, that would have required Costco to report on the financial risks of maintaining its diversity and inclusion goals. The group criticized Costco for possible illegal discrimination against employees who are white, Asian, male, or straight. Costco said its DEI efforts help the company attract and retain a wide range of employees and improve merchandise and services in stores. Costco also said its members want to interact with a diverse employee base. When I go to a store, I don't want to interact with an employee at all. Like, the most interaction I appreciate is when they say hello when I walk in the door, but I prefer as a customer to just be completely fucking ignored. And if I come to one of them with a question because I have to interact with them, I would prefer if that person could speak fluent English. Those are the things that I want to interact with when I am forced to interact. Wawa's amazing for that. Asterisk, if I go to a different country, obviously I'm not expecting their employees to speak English. I would be expecting myself to have a little translator tool so that I could speak to them in whatever their native fucking language is. Among other things, a diverse group of employees helps bring originality and creativity to our merchandise offerings, promoting the treasure hunt that our customers value, Costco said in its proxy statement to investors. Let's see how long this article is. Okay, this one's not too bad. This one also mentions Costco. They are promoting Costco as their Lord and Savior now that, George Floyd is old news. I'm going to read the little blurb from my email first before I open the article. Companies are rethinking, not abandoning, DEI. Some companies, such as Walmart, that rushed to implement DEI programs are now walking them back and reconsidering their strategies, due in part to political and legal pressures. Critics argue that many businesses did not think through their initiatives properly and treated DEI as a superficial add-on rather than a fundamental change. Joelle Emerson, CEO of technology consultancy Paradigm, expects more organizations will change their DEI direction, instead of abandoning it, and hopes that they invest the time needed to develop meaningful, effective programs. I see this as less of a rollback of DEI and more as a sort of evolution to the next phase of the work, Emerson says. And again, that was the blurb for this article in the Bridge Smart Brief. That was in my smart brief in my email, and this is the article attached to what I just read. Once again, Bridge very insidious, and so this is why I read through all this corporate schlock for you guys. I hope it helps you stay informed and inform other people around you. I hope this spreads. This was one of the articles that I brought up to Craig when I was on Side Scrollers, because I like to give like little updates on Bridge when I go on there. 5 years ago, in the wake of George Floyd's murder, Saint Floyd of the fentanyl, in his name we pray, amen. And the sweeping reckoning on racism it sparked, corporate America rushed to join in. Big businesses started making big and expensive promises to fight racism and increase diversity. Walmart, the world's largest company, spent $100 million on a new center on racial equity. And that was just one of many such investments. All told, the country's largest companies pledged almost $50 billion toward addressing racial inequity in the year after Floyd's death. The Washington Post estimated in 2021, that is huge. That is 50 fucking billion, dude. That is insane. Their CEOs announced these promises with solemn rhetoric about their company's roles in fixing societal problems. Don't worry, citizens. Big corporation is here to tell you what to think. Big corporation has the correct morality, so you will buy our product. We are your new religion. We want to address systemic racism in society head on and accelerate change, Walmart CEO Doug McMillon said in June 2020. I wish I had been paying this close attention to what companies were doing in 2020, because like, if I had known all of this, like, we want to change the culture. DEI is more than just a thought process. It must be fundamental to everyday life for everyone. It is a business imperative. It is a moral imperative. We need to accelerate cultural change in our image. If I had like known all of this shit and then found Bridge, my mind probably would have fucking exploded. But today, corporate America is rushing just as quickly in the other direction. Mounting political and legal attacks have turned DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, from a corporate rallying cry to a politically toxic football. Many big companies have been backing away from their diversity promises even before President Trump was reelected. After long criticizing DEI, Trump last month signed executive orders that will terminate what he calls illegal DEI programs and policies throughout the federal government. He called the programs radical and wasteful and discriminatory against non-minorities who, he says, are denied opportunities and recognition as a result. I don't think he used the term non-minorities, and I think I know why NPR is using that term, because the people who read NPR are going to read non-minorities and be like, well, it's not really discrimination against them because they're the majority. They're the non-minority. Why are they being denied opportunities? They're not. They're just whining little babies. Trump continued these criticisms last week, suggesting, apparently without evidence, that DEI programs at the Federal Aviation Administration were to blame for a deadly airliner crash. It may seem that big companies are just adapting to political and legal pressure, but diversity experts also blame a more fundamental failure. Many businesses didn't think through their pledges or their costs from the start, they say. Corporate America may have never gotten DEI right in the first place. What we're seeing in the moment is the few companies who took it to heart, and the many who just wanted to sprinkle some DEI on top, especially after George Floyd, says Portia Allen Kyle, who runs the racial justice nonprofit Color of Change. And that was never going to be a viable strategy. Allen Kyle is pretty pessimistic these days about the future of DEI in corporate America and the fallout for Black and other minority workers. Oh no, you'll lose your preferential treatment. You'll lose your preferential treatment and you'll have to compete on an even playing field with everyone else. Oh no, what will you do? How sad and tragic. Some diversity experts see a silver lining from the scrutiny. They hope that companies that care about building fairer, more inclusive workplaces are rethinking their strategies and may now finally have a chance to get it right. Conservative critics have long claimed that DEI is itself discriminatory, but these attacks picked up momentum in 2023 when the Supreme Court overturned affirmative action at colleges and universities, ending the consideration of race in college admissions. That ruling handed a powerful legal weapon to anti-DEI voices like Robbie Starbuck. Robbie Starbuck has never brought a legal battle anywhere. What do they mean by this? What do they mean by this? A social media influencer who has successfully pressured several big companies to end diversity-focused programs. He hasn't. Literally the only one was Tractor Supply Company. That is all of the other ones are only changing their language and doubling down on their commitment. Oh, I'm sick of this. I don't know if he's read my DM with all the bridge information yet, but oh my God, this is getting out of hand. Starbucks has said that he is focused on ending wokeness in corporate America and has posted on X that his activism will give workers a neutral workplace without feeling that divisive issues are being injected, which is noble, which is great. I love that he says that he's committed to this. But you can't claim that you made a company get rid of shit when they tell you to your face, yeah, no, we're committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion. They are blatantly lying to you and laughing at you for promoting the wins. Now, President Trump's efforts to end DEI in the federal government are expected to ripple into the private sector. Walmart, Meta, Amazon, and many others have already joined the retreat, ending many of their 2020-era pledges and programs. For example, Walmart in November said it won't renew the funding for its Racial Equity Center, and that it will end some other diversity-focused programs. We read the articles about Walmart ending these programs. They're not actually ending them because of backlash. The programs have reached their natural end-of-life conclusion. Walmart got what it needed out of these programs, and they will be remaking new programs with different names now that these initiatives have ended. We read that, we saw that with our own eyes, we heard it from their own mouths, we know what is happening. We remain committed to creating a culture where everyone can be successful and ensuring we are a Walmart for everyone, a company spokesperson tells NPR. There's that for everyone trigger phrase, man. The other companies have said similar things. For example, in a note shared with NPR, Amazon executive Candy Castleberry, hey, we read what she said, told employees last year that we remain dedicated to delivering inclusive experiences for customers, employees, and communities around the world. Meta did not respond to a request for comment. I'm pretty sure we read this Amazon stuff because I think Robbie Starbuck was saying that like he was reaching out to Amazon, and then like a week later Amazon changed like their phrasing on stuff. And so I had to read through all of the shit where they were just saying like, yeah, we're just changing the language. We're actually continuing to create these DEI programs. They're just going to have different names. Don't worry about it. You can make shit up, sure. Under the political headlines, there's a more subtle undercurrent at work. When Floyd was moited, many big companies were already promoting themselves as leaders in society, not just business. This widespread trend was known as stakeholder capitalism. Was it? Was it actually? We all know that the stakeholder is a red flag term, but did they actually call it stakeholder capitalism? I mean, I guess that's one way to hide. Companies argued that they could do more to help workers, society, and the planet, while also making more money for investors. But many experts saw this rhetoric as fundamentally flawed, and, it soon turned out, largely ineffective. Paying workers more inevitably costs money and cuts into short-term profits. So does turning down business opportunities that could have a negative impact on the environment. Meanwhile, CEOs who take stands on social or environmental issues risk drawing the ire of politicians and customers who disagree. It is always going to be difficult if you are a for-profit publicly traded company to have your leader talk about anything other than maximizing profits, says Seko Burmis, an associate professor of strategy and entrepreneurship at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. That is, in the US, the way we are wired. Oh, so there's a problem with wanting to maximize profits if you are a business owner. That's kind of weird. When Floyd was moited, big companies had raised the expectations of employees and customers that they would take a stand. And Burmis argues that many rushed into promises without thinking through the costs or what made the most sense for each individual business. Instead, some companies relied too much on the prospect of financial rewards for DEI programs, or what became known as the business case for diversity. It was being pitched as diversity is always going to help the bottom line, Burmis says, but no one who studies this would ever say that. Indeed, although some analysts have made the business case for diversity, Burmis's research has found that when companies increase the diversity of their executive teams, they generally don't see a financial impact, good or bad. Chat, if I was a man, I would have a raging boner so hard I could fucking cut meat with it, dude. I would have a knife of a penis. Because, like, how long have I been reading this stuff and saying they are foregoing the short-term profit for the long-term cultural change? How long have I been like, through everything I'm reading, this is how I'm speculating why they keep doing this, despite all the losses. It's not about the money right now. They don't care about the money. They care about the fucking culture change. And this woman is just reinforcing me in bold words. I love her, but I hate her because of what she's doing. She's learning the 3-sword style. It's just like, there's so many people, like even on like Asmongold videos, when some people who would watch my stuff would bring up Bridge in the comments, everyone would just be like, yeah, but it's going to go away because it's not profitable. And if it's not profitable, bitches don't want to do it because they're all about the money. Like, yeah, the original people were about the money, but they've been so fucking infiltrated by these acolytes pushing their ideology and desiring, working towards cultural change, that it's not about the money right now. They don't care about the losses right now. The losses will be, in their minds, negligible if they can transform the culture, and then they'll get the money back after that because they'll have everyone just believing in the ideology instead of fighting them. To quote a great man, it's not about the money, it's about sending a message. It's just like, I just like love reading in plain text reinforcements of things that I'm like, all right, well, this hasn't been completely fucking said point blank, but like more recently they've been coming out and they've been saying like, yeah, dude, don't worry about it. There's gonna be some losses. We expected these losses. It's it's collateral damage on our war to fix the culture. Money can simply be printed. The ethical case for diversity is stronger. Cheryl Dijja says that while diversity is an ethical case and is a moral imperative, it also needs to be embedded in companies. Still, Burmis and others point out that DEI policies can have significant business impacts, even if they're not apparent in short-term financial results. Having a more diverse team can help create products that appeal to more consumers, or help employees feel more satisfied with their jobs. Costco, for example, recently told investors that its DEI efforts help bring originality and creativity to our merchandise offerings and enhance our capability to attract and retain employees who will help our business succeed, among other benefits. I'm just going to be real honest. As long as people I'm working with can do their jobs, I don't give a shit what they are. Like, I could be like the only white employee working at a business, and if everyone else is doing their job well, I don't give a shit. Imagine claiming melanin is what guarantees unique products. What the actual fuck? The massive retailer, which also calls DEI part of its code of ethics, successfully brushed off an anti-DEI shareholder proposal last month. Meanwhile, JP Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon, we read an article about him recently too, who runs the nation's largest bank, has called DEI good for business. It's morally right. We're quite good at it. And we're successful. I am so glad I do not bank with JP Morgan. Holy fuck. It probably helps that both JP Morgan Chase and Costco are financial powerhouses whose profits and share prices keep their investors happy. But both companies are also framing their DEI policies as a matter of morality or ethics rather than just profits. That's exactly how more companies should be thinking about DEI, according to Burmis, if and only if they see it as valuable. Burmis acknowledges that not all companies will want to continue pursuing greater diversity, equity, and inclusion. But he argues that if business leaders decide that pursuing such workplace goals is morally right and aligned with a company's values, then they'll be better able to stand up to criticism or attacks. Man. These fucks wouldn't know morals or ethics if it was bitten, or if they were bitten by them. Yeah, true and real. You already don't like the metals market manipulators. And, as he adds, there's firmer ground than hoping that if we get 2 more Latinos on the board, our stock price will go up. Some DEI work will continue by any other name. Despite the ongoing pressures, Costco and JP Morgan aren't the only employers still spending money on DEI. In fact, some companies are ramping up. Paradigm, a tech consultancy that advises employers on diversity and inclusion, said it saw a 12 percentage point increase last year in how many of its customers had dedicated DEI budgets. Bridge also said something similar, where Bridge said that despite all of the activist pushback from conservatives, and despite executive orders, and despite Trump getting elected, they saw an increase in companies becoming paid members with them. Paradigm CEO Joel Emerson says that even companies that are ending DEI programs may rebrand the work rather than abandoning it altogether. The work, he knows they're rebranding. He knows it's not a may. He knows it's a they are. Corporate America's diversity results have been a mixed bag, she adds, in part because companies often spend too much time and energy on initiatives that didn't have a measurable impact. Now, she's hoping that employees are taking the time to create more thoughtful and effective programs to increase fairness. I see this as less of a rollback of DEI and more as sort of an evolution to the next phase of this work, which is exactly what Cheryl Dijja and Bridge have been saying for the past year. This is exactly what SHRM was saying in their announcement on their platform in June. This is what I have been talking about for ages. This is not DEI going away. This is an evolution of DEI. Bridge is not a renaming. Bridge is the initiative of all of the renamings. And these companies are walking in lockstep to make you believe that they're all dumping their DEI at a critical point when everyone is critical of it and everyone hates it. And that's not what they're doing. They're like fucking Pokemon. DEI. DEI always changes. But the work never changes. Many of the companies ending DEI programs are scrubbing the now politically toxic acronym from their websites and corporate statements, but their public statements insist that they still want to make everyone feel included. Yeah, because they're doubling down on DEI. They're just getting rid of the fucking code words that people recognize now, man. But don't worry, guys, we're winning. I've definitely seen some comments before as well where people are like, oh, well, I'm not going to care about Bridge because I see too many people commenting about it. And it's like, I'm just sick of seeing it. And it's like, okay, guy, you probably never cared in the first place. People wouldn't have to comment well, you got to look into Bridge on other content creators' videos if they were just accurate in reporting what's actually going on with DEI. Not my problem. Not my problem that they don't have this information. I'm trying to hide under the floorboards until we de-aggro a bit. There's no space under these floorboards. Turn them in. Turn them in. That could be a tricky balance, especially as the Trump administration continues ramping up attacks on DEI, including efforts to uncover rebranded diversity efforts inside federal agencies. They're scared. They're scared because they know if Trump manages to do this, and he manages to get these fucking priests out of the education industry, they will lose their grip on being able to create a modern audience. They will lose their grip on transforming the culture for the new generations. And it's still going to take us multiple generations to reinstill American values, but this is where it starts. This is where it begins. Getting them out of all of these institutions that they have had a stranglehold on, that they have had all of the No Child Left Behind, all of the fucking keep everyone dumb and dull and don't teach them critical thinking nonsense in schools, has contributed greatly to the issues that we see. I'm not going to look because I'm sick of you people talking about it as a tell of a controlled opposition, most likely a grifter. Yeah, right? And it remains to be seen whether corporate America can really be more effective while softening its language and goals around diversity, equity, and inclusion. But Emerson, at least, is bullish. I'm actually pretty optimistic about the future of this work, she says. I'm not optimistic about the acronym DEI, nor do I particularly care. And she's right. She's right to be bullish because, again, this has been going on for more than 60 years. This has been going on for decades, and they have gone mostly unopposed, except by crazy conspiracy people like Alex Jones. Most people just accepted these things as, oh yes, affirmative action is great. We do need to help people. It was just accepted as a normal part of things. And that is what they hope to do here as well. That eventually, regardless of the acronym, they will just embed these values in people, and it will be a normal part of everyone's life. 4 more years of Trump, and then we'll see 8 years of Vance. Then to really fuck with him, we'll do 8 years of Don Jr. I hope I'll still be alive to vote for Barron. Orange Man 6 terms. Big Daddy Corpo thinks for you, so you don't have to. It's all grotesque. It's all grotesque, but it's like I like keeping up on these things, so I know what the fuck is going on. And, you know, eventually we're gonna have more than just big titty anime woman yelling about bridge. Barron only needs like 17 years. I think affirmative action has or had its place, but the problem is that it got weaponized like a lot of good intentioned actions and propositions. That's how a lot of this stuff slippery slopes its way in. They promote it on like oh, we're gonna do good with it, and then they just use it as a weapon. But all of this has been in the promotion of the Marxist ideals, because that's what these people are. And you see it in everything that they believe. You see it from the educators on TikTok. You see it from the seething people on Twitter. You see it from all these articles I read. Like, that is what they're pushing. And having called it Marxism, a lot of people pushed back on me specifically for a while calling it that. But that is what it is. Those are the tenets that they use, and they use Gramsci tactics as well. Like, even Trump has been calling it Marxism, because like that is undeniably objectively what they are doing. It might not be quote unquote real Marxism from back in the day, because they've included gay people, and Marxists back in the day hated the gays. Marxists in Cuba hate the gays. But it's like this is a different form of Marxism, but it is Marxism all the same. Carries its connotations. Yep. List as many as you can. Yet a political science midwit try to tell you that it wasn't Marxism on X. Children do not belong on the internet. The amount of people I had to block recently because they were like minors quote retweeting my stuff complaining about how I'm a Nazi. I was just like, fuck, please, man. Get out. Don't interact with me, you child. It should be considered a war crime that I am at the mercy of seeing any minor's opinion on the internet at any point in time.